Okay, we're live. Welcome to Coffee and Composing. Okay, gotta turn down my monitor here. How's everybody doing? Good. I can't believe it's Friday again. It flew. It was so quick this week. Um, Big news this week though, wasn't there? With Native Instruments announcing their insolvency and what that might mean for my first initial thought was like, oh, what does that mean for Contact? Because everything I use now is, well, it's not everything, but so much of what I use now is Contact, and Native Instruments based, and it gets you thinking really about how reliant you are on big platforms and big tech in all your musical creation. And if you break it down to like the DAW you're using, if you're using Pro Tools, that's a rented space. Apple brought out their Apple Creator Studio, and that's a rented space. And what I mean by rented space is you're paying a subscription, and within that subscription, you don't actually own anything. So, as it stands now, Apple, you can still own the digital tools as of now, but anytime in the future, not maybe Apple probably is too big to fail, but like they're not too big to put things behind a paywall, which they are quite fond of doing. And it really makes you think of how precarious your situation as a music maker is when you're so reliant on digital tools. And furthermore, all the other things that are behind digital paywalls. So you think of all the movies you watch are streaming, all the music you listen to is streaming. They're all kind of ones and zeros based in big data centers. And this seems really obvious, but it's something that you never think about. It's kind of like having water to your tap if you are lucky enough to come from a country that you don't have to think about where your water comes from. You just automatically think that it's going to be there forever, and so forever it will be thus. And it really makes you think. So when a company like Native Instruments gets into financial trouble, and the possibility of all these things going away really makes you kind of have to take stock of where you are and what you're doing. And also with your whole infrastructure as a music business or a entrepreneur or an online business of any kind, especially as a musician, you've outsourced all of your back end, all of your running to various platforms and various companies, and essentially you've kind of rented it all out. Like, for example, if you have a big social media following, if Meta comes along and changes their policies, or YouTube come along and demonetize your videos, or anything like that, it can all be just taken away. And that's people's livelihoods, it's people's day-to-day existence. So for me, the Native Instruments things just kind of speaks to a much bigger problem, or a much heavier over reliance on digital tools, and then like you throw in AI to the mix after that, and where does that end? So yeah, big news for me. I thought it was a worrying development, but also a kind of a sobering one, as in, how can you change your kind of to get off these platforms and maybe not engage with the corporations in such a kind of fashion that you're so beholden to them. Anyway, that's my thought of the week. We're going to get into the DAW now in a few minutes and look at more tuned gongs. So if you don't know, I was doing a bit of this last week, and I know that the title of last week's live stream was plugins and effects, and I did use some plugins and effects, but I kind of got sidetracked by this composing challenge from the Crow Hill Company. I'm going to find the link here and I'm going to share it with you. They release a monthly free virtual instrument from their Vaults collection, and they have a new one today actually, called Glass Beaker. Okay. So, where am I? Yes, let me find this composing challenge. So their free virtual instruments was a couple of weeks ago or last month was the tuned gongs. And tuned gongs, like I went to compose something with it last week, and they're just so tricky to use. And I thought that it's really worth doing another week on them. So we're going to do tuned gongs, and you can watch me stumble over how how I'm trying to compose it. Sorry, I've got like 5 screens open here, so bear with me. I'm just trying to find this. I'm trying to find this link first, and it is here somewhere. Challenges, yes. Okay, here we go. So if you haven't heard of them, Crow Hill Company are really really good. Here's the link. Also another couple of links in there, a bit of housekeeping. I have Substack newsletter. It kind of dives a little bit deeper into what I was saying about the kind of over-reliance on the digital platforms and, you know, building your house on rented land and digital infrastructure. Now, I know, like, I mean, there are the kind of people among us who go, well, why don't you just open source everything and, you know, make everything yourself? But yeah, I suppose there's a convenience factor to using all these tools. Anyway, I would love to know your thoughts. Have a look at the newsletter, sign up if you're feeling it. Also hit subscribe to the YouTube channel, and yeah, come say hi, and yeah, ignore my autofocus is always like this. And I'm going to stop talking now, and well, I'm not going to stop talking, but I'm going to jump into the DAW. So last night I deleted everything I had done last week, as is the want. And what I decided to do was compose a little bit using the gongs. Now, my idea here is I've split the gongs into highs, alto, tenor, and bass. So SATB kind of idea. A flute texture, we will get into that later. And this is, oops. And then what I noticed was, whatever it is with the transients of the gongs, there is just like the decay of them. They're so washy and so tricky to use in a kind of melodic way. And maybe I was trying to force them into a kind of a melodic thing. But yeah, I'll just give you a listen to. Now, this is my plan here was I threw a load of stuff at this, and the plan today is to kind of compose through editing. So I'm going to try not to keep adding stuff, but try and kind of remove stuff in the kind of minimalist idea. Again, is stripping away the unessential. Now, what I've done here is I've written something for the gongs, and I have doubled them on strings, on high tenor and high alto and tenor. So soprano, alto, and tenor. I haven't used the bass in the strings because there is so much bass information in these gongs that yeah, it just really is So it's this kind of minimalist idea, pulsing textures. Yeah, have a listen, and this is where I am so far. So you get the idea. It's very, very repetitive and very loopy at the moment, but we're going to try and take this and edit it. I was going to give a mass reference there, but probably unnecessary. We don't need any mass references. So what I'm going to do is I deliberately wanted, so that the initial idea came from that the low end of these gongs are so cool. Now, obviously, if you're listening to this on a phone, you're not going to hear the loads of cool low end, and it's just going to sound a bit lame. So if you're listening to it on a phone, get yourself some headphones, or go into your studio and stick it on your studio monitors. So I wanted like this super long decay, and then I filled in these kind of pulsing, interlocking patterns with the middle two voices. And just because I'm trying to make everything sound like Philip Glass at the moment. And then I put in this high melodic line that I'm probably gonna change around. Because I wanted some definition up on the top end. So then, because it's so washy and cymbally, I paired the middle voices and the top voice with some strings to give it a little bit more definition in the attack. So the transient is a little bit more defined. So we still have the washiness stuff from the gongs, but the attack is coming from the strings now. We have one doing pits. I think it's the tenors. So then this low end gongs kind of evolve. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give a little bit more to the velocity of these, because I really like them coming through here. So this is not, the intention of this is not to be kind of very, it's to be kind of harmonically and rhythmically kind of simple, but obscure as well. You're not really like, it's not really, it's kind of textural, I guess, but that's kind of where I like to live most of the time. in nondescript textures. So how I might start off this is to stay in the gongs. Now let me just check here. Nobody's if you feel free to leave a comment or any of that kind of stuff, you know, let me know if you have these gongs. It's just fun to say, isn't it? Gongs. And then, oh yeah, just to mention, lastly, I put in this kind of pulsing flute texture, which is not supposed to be overblown. It's actually supposed to be it's in a kind of a polyrhythmic kind of thing. So the idea here is when I'm going to edit these, I want to have parts of the rhythmic texture kind of jump out. So so for example, when we go to the gongs, and I do like the overtones. I like the overtones kind of clashing against. So if I open this window here, is that going to open on OBS? Let's see. I guess we'll see soon enough. So this is all pretty quantized. So we have. So I'm just going to take every second note and I'm going to bump up the velocity. This is very kind of loose. So I want this wherever we are, the of 3, is it? 1, 8, and wherever this is. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and E and. So it's the and. The and of 2. Sorry, no. The and of 4. Again, this makes for absolutely riveting live streams. Old man turns MIDI up. Now, I'm sure there's a quicker way of doing this to highlight every note on this particular beat. And this is around the time where I would probably leave the live stream, go look on Google for how to do this quicker, and then go do it quicker. But just for now, or had I played it in with intention, that probably would have been a better idea too. But because we're kind of improvising here a little bit, you know, it's fine. So basically I'm just looking for moments where it pops out, and that's the great thing about these kind of repetitive rhythms, is when they're interlocking with other rhythms, when they have surprising moments where they pop out. And at first it doesn't feel like much, but as they evolve, they turn into kind of cooler moments. That's kind of the idea here. So because I missed one, it's now going to move, is it? No, we're still on the end of 4. Not quite. So talk amongst yourselves for this moment. This is there is definitely simpler ways of doing this, but I can't think of how to do it simpler just off the top of my head at this particular time. I could play it in again, but I can't even remember what I played here. So, but using gongs in general, I don't know. It's not an instrument I ever would have went to as something that's like, yeah, I can't wait to compose this. But I think that's the point when you get something that it's like, oh, I don't know how this is supposed to behave or what I'm supposed to do with this. And I think therein lies the, like, for me, the creative process always, that's like when you surprise yourself, that's the most fun, I think. So nearly all these velocities. And the great thing is, because I misplaced a note at some point, I've now changed the accented note to a different position, which is great. So it goes from the and of 4 to the and of 1 and the end of 3. So nearly there. And when I get this, I'm going to copy and paste all these change velocities to its equivalent strings. So I'll close this window. And strings alto. We want this down here too. So with a bit of luck, this should start popping a little bit. And that's exactly what I wanted, is that like extra emphasis. Now, I think with the tenors, instead of doing the extra emphasis, okay, so the strings are kind of taking over there a little bit. So I only want the strings to function as a support for all of the kind of washiness of the gong. So it's acting as a transient for the gong. So I'm just kind of pairing them together. That's the idea. Need a little bit more work to get there. With this tenor line, I'm kind of feeling that there should be a little bit more rhythm here, but I think we will bring the rhythm in from here, I think. And maybe just in the strings, because they're pits, we might get away with it. So here is where we want it. So maybe if we do something like actually, where we go? Yeah, so we'll double time that and see how. Now this might work. It might be a little bit too much. Now, I said I was going to edit this, not make it more complicated, but you know, this is the way it goes. And because that's just a load of repetition, this might be too much. So we have, let's So what might be nice is to give a sense of motion, a sense of stalling, sense of motion, sense of stalling. So that could work. So we'll do that. Now again, I'm just kind of playing around with ideas here. So, and if I leave a couple of mistakes in it, that's good. For me, that's good. That means because these loops tend to just sound really loopy and repetitive, what you're looking for is moments where it's like, oh, little surprises. That's what I'm going for here. And if they're accidental surprises, all the better. I don't now this flies in the face of what I was talking about intentional writing, I guess. And maybe this is a bit of an aside, but because I come from what I studied a little bit of jazz for a few years, and I really like the idea of improvisation in terms of discovery. So you're exploring things that are as equally surprising to you as they are to the listener. So you're almost putting yourself in the position of the listener and going, oh, when something jumps out and surprises you, it's like, oh yeah, we'll keep that. So here we have like the double time, half time, double time. And it feels kind of like it should change there, maybe. So let's go back, see how it's all sitting together. So the straight away, this is jumping out of me as being, this is all kind of too much, isn't it? Take it from the gongs instead. Now this so annoys me about MIDI editing in general. When you stray over the bar line, the MIDI doesn't play. I know there's a way of changing this, and every time I see a video about it, I keep okay, will I try and find it? I'll try and find it. I believe it's in settings, and it's in MIDI, and it is see, I can't find it. Perhaps in advanced? No. See, this is the problem with learning in front of people. And can't remember what I'm looking for, so never mind. But there is a way you can fix it where the MIDI will play even if it's in the middle of the MIDI note. I can't remember what it's called right now. If you remember, stick it in the chat. And even if you don't remember, say hello in the chat, because yeah, I read all the messages. need a better note than that. Second one. Okay, we're at the very top end of the... How about something like that? Bit too much? Goes there anyway, okay. Okay, so it's doing something. I'm not quite sure where I'm going with this yet. This is quite often what happens, I find, when you're trying to write in this kind of minimalist interlocking pattern kind of style, where things will jump out and go, I want that there, and you know, it's almost like sculpting. And don't know why I'm into it at the moment, but it's just where I'm kind of enjoying writing from at the moment. The real danger about using this kind of interlocking patterns and things like that is it's hard to move it so it doesn't sound really so it doesn't sound really repetitive and boring. And to me, that's what's happening at the moment. So, not least because I have acres of the same chord. So it changes there. So what I'm thinking here is kind of might do like this drastic change here. And sometimes, like I mentioned this last week about modulation. So literally take everything down. So we're from where are we starting on F? So we're now E flat. So down a tone. So we're going to take everything here, down a tone, and hopefully, if I don't fuck it up like the last time, And yeah. Yeah. I think we're there. And then all of this can come down a tone. So it'll go. So it should be pretty drastic now. So something I learned there from Ryan Leach, who's an expert orchestrator and great YouTuber. Check him out. He was talking about how John Williams changed his key. And most of the time when you think about modulation, you think, okay, we're going to have to modulate in some really clever harmonic fashion. You know, dominant to tonic kind of thing, and have like a cadence. And quite often he says that John Williams just, if he wants to change key, he just changes key. And bam, it's in a new key. And I really like that idea. So you're really getting into, and I think it works especially effectively well in something like this, where you have this repetitive pattern where you go, I know where this is going. This is not going anywhere strange. And you're well established in this kind of already very kind of diatonic key center. Huge dynamic shift. And moving a tone, moving a semitone, moving minor third, or you could do the John Coltrane thing and move in major thirds. Cycle of fifths. You like, there's so much options for changing key. And if you're designing music like this, where, you know, maybe somebody will play it, maybe somebody won't, it doesn't matter. So you're not asking instrumentalists to go like, come along and play this yet. Like, it might turn into something that you evolves into that. But for now, like, what I'm trying to achieve with these kind of writing sessions is a sense of curiosity and a sense of experimentation. So I'm not really too worried about the final outcome here. I'm playing around with these ideas and seeing how I like to write within them, because it's a palette and a texture and a style that I'm really looking to explore more of at the moment. And yeah, that's just kind of stylistically where I'm at the moment. And now I don't know how much of this has done with gongs, but yeah, that's just it. So here I'm going to start editing now, because I don't want all of these elements in straight away. Maybe the pits is nice there. big introduction there was just kind of working for me. Let's come back to this. Yeah, nice kind of spiciness here. So okay, getting rid of that too. So again, this now is where we start to edit, take things out, seeing if we can start putting back things. So the sus kind of sound. Okay, I better check that this still has been. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Okay, so yeah, I don't know how helpful this was. Maybe check the links and have a go yourself at messing around with Gongs, Crowell Company's Vaults release. So yeah, tricky instrument I found to compose with, but if it opens up new doors and kind of gives you this creative spark, then it really is worthwhile doing. So keep that in mind. So let me come back to my main screen here. So yeah, thanks. I'm going to be wrapping up now. So thanks very much for joining me on the live stream. Appreciate you being here on a Friday morning. I am considering changing the schedule from Friday morning to a kind of more friendly hour. A lot of the reason that I started these live streams was to kind of practice them really and figure out how to do them, how to work them, and yeah, I think I know my way around it now, and I know what the format's more or less going to be like. So yeah, if that's something that you would like to see more of at a different time, drop me a comment and say hello in the chat or drop me a message or whatever. And follow the link to Substack and YouTube and all this thing. I'm trying to grow this channel. And yeah, I'm going to be back doing doing longer form videos soon too. I've had a few tech things going on my side. Ironically enough, about storage space. And what I found was starting the YouTube channel and doing more long form video, because I like to shoot in 4K and have something that looks semi decent, or that's the aim anyway. I really didn't take into account the amount of space and storage space you need for all this footage that you're shooting. So if anybody knows of any good tools other than hard drives, obviously, solid state hard drives are great for editing off of. And my monitor went down as well. So when I get those done, I'm going to do a video, probably around the subject of brain rot, and also kind of coming back to yourself as a creative, which is something that's on my 2026 to-do list, is kind of valuing the experience of creation more. That sounds very, very kind of religious-y there, but the experience of creation. I found that particularly working in the DAW and working in a way very kind of on a digital platform, it's less tactile. It feels less like you're engaging with how you're composing, and I'm trying to find kind of ways that I can kind of bring that out. I'll be talking a little bit more about this in a few minutes over on Substack. So the link is there. Even if you're watching this later on and it's not live and you've made it this far to like whatever it is, 48 minutes of me rambling about gongs and stuff, the link for the Substack live is there, and that'll stay up as well, so you can kind of watch that back if you really want this kind of super what do they call it, super long form content. You can check that out there on Substack. If you're going to be there live, I'll see you in a few minutes. And other than that, thank you very much for watching. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Check out the newsletter. Get yourself some gongs. And yeah, if you create anything with the gongs, send them in to Crow Hill Company and try and win yourself some prizes. Or share them here. I'd love to hear your stuff. I will see you on the next one next week. Yeah, we'll be back again next Friday. So more coffee and composing.